Tell us what this is about.
Yeah, very sharp. Our vision is to be the home for all brands. So we want to be the destination site when consumers are looking for branded product or product that requires trust or experience. I think if you look at the last 25 years as the internet evolved, most of the large internet platforms built on with the premise of open platform, where anybody can come talk to each other, anybody can come post things.
Right.
And what we found that last 25 years, that a society without any rules brings a lot of chaos. So there are a lot of counterfeits and fraud in marketplaces. So we are building a platform where brands can go safely, knowing there is no counterfeit product, there is no negative fake review, and consumer can find trusted product.
And this is a direct shot at Amazon.
I would say, if you look at retail, it's a $5.5 trillion market. It is by far the biggest market. It is bigger than ride-sharing market. It is bigger than food delivery market. And e-commerce as a percentage of overall retail sales is only 10%. So I think we are so early on this journey that there could be multiple very large businesses could exist.
Let me ask you then a policy or philosophical question. Therefore, you don't think that Amazon's a monopoly?
I don't think Amazon is a monopoly.
And shouldn't therefore be regulated?
I think in general, the way I think about it is that if a company is become really big or very successful, we should not break them up. But we should scrutinize, make sure that they don't involve in anti-competitive things, right, and they don't reduce consumer choice. Right. So as long as they don't do it, I don't have any problem with Amazon.
Let me ask you about creating a marketplace. I don't know if you're describing it that way.
We're an online retailer.
An online retailer for brands.
Yes.
There are a lot of brands that don't want to be on Amazon right now.
Absolutely.
For lots of different reasons. In part because they also are a marketplace and there's other people who are selling them. There are counterfeit issues, but I think less so on a place like Amazon, no?
I think anytime there is an open platform where anybody can come list or post, you cannot never guarantee quality and authenticity.
What do you make, though, of what's clearly a trend, which is direct-to-consumer? There are so many brands out there. I don't know, I was looking to see what sneakers you're wearing. They're fancier than Allbirds, but I was going to say they sort of look like a fancier version of Allbirds. Allbirds is a direct-to-consumer brand. They don't want to be on somebody else's platform. And there's so many new emerging brands that don't want to be on somebody else's platform. Do you attract them to your platform, or are you looking differently? I think it's a great question, and I think, one of the things that I noticed at Snap, that when I first started building the ad business, my advertisers were mobile game developer. Over the years, we saw a lot of these direct-to-consumer companies coming in and buying up the keywords and driving the CPM higher. But they all don't have enough breadth of selection. So when everybody builds the same kind of product, they beat up the keyword prices and going up. And so I think all these brands will need a new place to distribute the product. And by the way, direct-to-consumer is not a new concept. There's a lot of traditional brick-and-mortar business have their physical outlet, but they also sell on the department stores. So I think that most of these DTC brands will need a new outlet, and we're building a brand-safe environment for consumers to discover them.
How does that relationship work between brands? They're probably, many of them have their own e-commerce sites too. That's why we've seen some brands have been reluctant to get involved with Amazon. They'd rather be direct to the consumer themselves.
Right. I think, first of all, in marketplaces, you're absolutely right. It's very difficult for brands to be involved because the moment they show up, their product shows up next to a fake product. People go write negative fake review, and you cannot control your brand proximity. But in our platform, it is a brand-safe environment where there is no counterfeit. You don't have to pay an advertisement to show up on the top of the site. So best product wins. So that's a very brand-safe environment. And at the same way, by aggregating all the brands, we make it easier for consumers. You don't have to go to 100 different sites.
What you're describing is almost like a department store for online. Retailers for a long time, the brand companies for a long time have wanted to break away from some of those department stores because they didn't like kind of being cloistered there, being forced to do those things. Do you have much looser regulations than a department store would have?
Yeah.
People have their own online commerce things too, and you're not charging them nearly as much as a retailer would?
Yeah, I think we want to create a win-win situation, and we're also creating a lot of new ways of discovery. So one of the things, if you go to the site, you will see that we have this thing called Tastemaker Shop. Mm-hmm. So Tastemaker Shop is an influencer store. So you can go and find what the influencers picked from our store. So it's a new way of discovery. We also have Responsible Shop, which is if you care about cruelty-free, if you care about sustainability, you will be able to find those products much easily in one place. Mm-hmm. So by aggregating it easier, we make it incredibly easy for consumers.
Do these brands also have their own online stores?
Many of them do.
So what makes it more likely that customers would come to you? Is it the ease of transaction? I mean, I know one thing I love about Amazon is it's got all my information. I know it'll be shipped in 2 days. Can you control that? Will you have it shipped within a certain number of days?
Absolutely. On day one, we're starting with 2-day free shipping, and there is no minimum. So you can go buy a $10 product, and it will be delivered to you in 2 days.
So all of this is in your warehouses ahead of time?
In my warehouse, yep, in our warehouse.
Let me ask you about discovery, which is to say, I assume you're going to have to spend a lot of money on advertising, and I assume you're going to be spending that money having just lived at Snap on places like Facebook and Instagram, also on Google, and I imagine on Snap and potentially Twitter and other places. There is a large conversation going on in this country right now about the size and scope of a Google and a Facebook in terms of how much of the marketplace they control. We've asked guests, if you couldn't advertise on a Facebook or a Google, could you even have a business in this environment exist? Are you worried, anxious, upset about the scale and scope of these businesses right now?
No, I'm not. I think, again, we competed with Facebook fiercely, right, and it's pretty well telegraphed. Well, I think the big thing, again, I want to talk, rather than talking about Facebook or Google or Amazon, I rather want to talk about as a policy level. Right. As the company becoming big, it's not a crime. I think one of the greatest thing about America is if you have a good idea and if you execute well, you can build big businesses. And I believe in that it's still possible in America despite these big companies. I think what we need to make sure that they don't do that is quote unquote illegal practices. Right. And I have no reason to believe they have done that.
Do you believe that you could create a viable competitor to a Facebook / Instagram or a Google or a Snap today? Meaning, do you believe that if you met, that another Evan out there could emerge and create a significant and viable competitor to these kind of companies?
I think we're thinking the world much more narrower way. I think over the next 10 to 20 years, the social network, the way we see it, will probably evolve significantly, and new platform will rise, right? So think about it, 15 years ago, there were no social platform, right, 15, 20 years ago. So I think, 20 years from now, there will be a completely new platform, and there will be new leaders on this platform. So I think the biggest challenge for some of these companies will be, can they evolve with this new platform? I think you can say that 30 years ago, an advertiser would say that I'm very upset with NBC and CBS because those are the only two places I can advertise. But look how the world has changed. So I fundamentally believe that the technology innovation in this country and globally will continue to change so rapidly that we'll see new platforms.
Okay, now that the Snap chains are off, though, be honest with us, because you're going to have to spend money on these platforms. Most effective platform, you think?
I think
for you in terms of advertising.
I think it's too early to say because we'll test all the platforms,
right,
and whoever generates the best ROI will invest there. But we haven't started advertising yet.
You have not started advertising?
No,
yet.
We went live today.
But it's going to be a keyword story, and it's also going to be an Instagram story, and it's going to be a Snap story, et cetera?
Yeah, look, I think we want to build a business for a long period of time. And I think the best way to build a business for a long period of time by providing the best value to consumers and being your customers, your champion. So rather than spending a lot of money in advertising, my philosophy is rather than let's take some of those dollars and invest in better experience. So that's why on day one, we're providing 2-day free service, no minimum shipping.
Why do you think the department stores haven't been able to do this?
Look, I think in general, it's an execution.
Or maybe they have, by the way. They may argue they have.
I think it's an execution story. I think you really need to invest in technology. I think you really need to invest in discovery. You really need to invest in convenience. E-commerce is a hard business to build. I'm in this for 6 months and already can say it's a much tougher business to build. But I think it's an execution story.